8-bedroom residence.
Okay, let me find this, because I've got the same one you brought me.
Page 2, under 43.11, design
A
criteria.
little slower. Page what?
2, under 43.11, design criteria. It says 8-bedroom residence, design flows, 8 bedroom. So right there, 8-bedroom residence,
Next page.
page 2.
So this proposed building, you're telling me tonight, is an 8-bedroom residence. That's where I'm headed, because this is the only place that says this.
Yeah, it also states that the design criteria meets the Colorado standards. If the in that section, it says the new building, if it's used as an Airbnb, it meets state Colorado short-term rental policy. My glasses aren't. Yeah, rental policies. And they shall be adhered to. But, and that's included in the design criteria, because I specifically remember mentioning that to the engineer when, you guys started going on about, I don't know where you guys came up with the idea of a motel, and your wife actually sent something to Cusino stating that she had 2 different engineer designs, one for a garage and then another engineer design for a motel hotel. I've looked all through my engineering and there's no such thing. So she lied to the state about what I was doing, and which is incorrect. And so I actually asked the engineer, which system has to be bigger? If I have it, I don't even know if I'll ever build this house, but whoever built the house, if they want it to be an Airbnb, make sure whichever way we do it, the system's big enough. Let's go with the biggest calculation that we can.
Right.
And so that's what. we're doing
So
here.
the biggest calculation that your engineer came up with was based on residential standards.
Right.
And what I want you to do is to fill out your permit and say potential, proposed, whatever you want to do, proposed residence with up to 8 bedrooms. I want that.
Tom, you're out of line. You're not a professional. The engineer has already engineered it.
Did I see somebody's hand up?
He just got it down.
Oh, okay.
As long as you have everybody else in this town do the same thing. I mean, this is.
Look, I just stepped into here.
It says it right here in the proposed use. That's what the engineer wrote. The engineer wrote the proposed use document that's 3 or 4 pages long. And it says, well, Ed just
And
pointed out,
so
8-bedroom residence.
very good. So my question is then, can you include a residence on your permit?
No, it's included on the permit. It's included in the document right here. My engineering, it's included.
No, I'm nitpicking and so are you. So I don't know to what degree I'm nitpicking, but, when in your permit, it says,
You're running in circles because.
no, Jake, I think you're running in circles.
Was that I had to give you a proposed use. I've got an email from your wife that says if you can give me the proposed use, I can give you your permit.
So
And that's what this is, this 4 pages, where it specifies an 8-bedroom residence.
Okay, I'm cutting in here. If we look at Reg 43, Tom, you already wrote what's required of Reg 43. 43.5.G.2 states
Yep.
design document must include a brief description of the facility and its proposed use. That would be this design document on page 2 that says it's an 8-bedroom residence. Our town of Pitkin, does not have anywhere on there that says, is it residence, is it commercial, is it a restaurant? It doesn't have any of that on there. That's a town of Pitkin requirement that's not on the permit.
Wouldn't that fall under the brief description instead of just
On
see attached?
Okay, on the brief description, it says see attached, which is the project description that's required by the state. And it spells it out in there. Furthermore, the permit is for an existing garage that doesn't even have a bathroom in it, and a proposed garage that you have already approved building permit for without an OWTS permit, which isn't correct. So the proposed garage and the existing garage is what technically the OWTS has to be designed for today. He can expand it to as many bedrooms or capacity as he wants, which he'd go into 8. If he ever decides to go to the proposed building at the back of the property, that's later on down the road. Then whatever he builds there has to make sure that it will conform to the field and to the tank that the septic system is being built as today. So you're nitpicking, and you're nitpicking our town of Pitkin application. But he gives the detail in what's required from the state. So what's required from the state, he is fully provided. And it appears like you're just trying to drag it out and lay it out even further than what it should have been done, taken care of by our EHA about 3 weeks ago.
Well, I would have to disagree with you on that. There's been quite a lot of communication back and forth, hasn't there, Jay? And you got an item or two clarified that you needed.
I thought because people are saying things and I'm not finding that, I will go back to Jake, when you say, it says in this document, proposed use. Can you tell me where that is? I'm not seeing.
Yeah, he's written right there. He read it to you.
Go to page 2, under the design criteria, it's an 8-bedroom residence. On page 1.
I'm asking,
So right here.
would you listen to me? I'm asking where it says proposed use. Can you understand the word use?
You understand what he read. See?
He didn't answer my question.
So, okay,
Jake.
go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. Hello. So in the design criteria, it says what it is designed for. And if the words proposed use are not used, they're not required. If someone isn't capable of mentally collecting that information and understanding that design criteria, and under it, it says 8-bedroom residence. If you're not capable of understanding that, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe.
All right, I'm just asking. So it does not say proposed use. Would you agree that with that?
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't
Okay,
say those words.
That's, you said that it does, and that's.
Well, in theory, it
That's
does.
all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah. Do you understand that it's
Okay, guys,
one and the same?
we got this. All right. So Jake has stood up and Jake has clarified for us that the proposed use of this facility for which he seeks a permit is a residence with a maximum of 8 bedrooms, because that's the maximum this thing was designed for.
Correct.
And
If the proposed building was built the way it's written, is it would be built as an 8-bedroom residence. And when that day comes, who knows? I might be dead, but that may be null and void.
Well, and so early on in my little speech here, I said, only as a residence will this permit work. And the clarification I wanted is that is in fact what this is. And you have pointed it out very well, I think. And so now I think we are all on record in clarifying what our wonderings and our concerns might be. And so I thank you very much. All right, any discussion from the front? Any discussion from the audience?
I think that we should do, other than the normal of the Pitkin board, and go ahead and approve it. Don't kick the can.
Thank you, Chad. All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
I move to table. And if you want, I'll explain why.
Well, okay. If you're going to move to table, I do want to know why.
Okay. This is the first time that the Board of Health, the current Board of Health members have been requested to review any OWTS application. As I think it was Jared asked earlier, are there any engineers on this board? No, there aren't. I'm not sure that we're qualified at this point to do this job without some criteria spelled out. And the whole thing has come to us fairly suddenly because of the resignation of our environmental health agent. And I'm simply not ready. I think that as a Board of Health, we need some discussion on what is our procedure and how these things should be reviewed, since we don't have the same qualifications that we would require generally of an applicant for the environmental health agent who does this, who has done it in the past. Prior to that, we had a town sanitarian with different qualifications. I think we need to have some discussion about this. I think one of the things that we may need to look at and deal with is hiring a consultant who does have the qualifications to advise us on this. I can read, I think, better than most, Reg 43, but there are big parts of Reg 43 that I don't understand. There are some parts of this letter from the applicant's engineer that I don't understand because the information isn't required or isn't provided. She indicates something about it may be at some point reviewed under the state's how you refer to it, the state laws on short-term rentals. I'm not sure what that is about. I'd like to know what state laws she's referring to. It's simply, my move to table is that I don't see us being prepared for this type of action. There's, there's nothing in our ordinances or state regulations that I'm aware of that require an OWTS to be tied to a specific building project. I think there should be. Jake says, well, we haven't done this or we've approved all these things before. And that's not really true. In my recollection, the only time I can remember a system being approved without a building permit going along with it is the other property that Jake owns next to this.
That's not true.
It just, I think, I admit personally, I'm unprepared to deal with this. And I think that as the health board, that we are unprepared. And that's why I think we should table it until we can deal with it as a board and have the ability to meet our needs as well as the public and the applications.
I'd like to correct Ramon on a couple of things that he stated there. First of all, I know of at least 3 systems in town that have had OWTS systems put in place with no engineering of any type or building permit for the building that's going to go on that property. Brad Wick is one of them. I believe Chris has a couple on his own property where no building permit's ever been applied for or issued on either one of those properties. As far as, is this board capable of making this decision tonight? The state of Colorado does not require for an environmental health agent to be certified, to take any training, to have any type of certification, because the state does rely upon the professional engineer that designs the system, licensed by the state of Colorado. The installer must be a licensed installer by a couple of different organizations that can do the certification for the installers. And then the engineer, the PE, must come and actually do the testing and observe the testing and then draw the as-built for the system and make sure the system is being operating as required. The environmental health agent or environmental health specialist, as the state calls it under OWTS Reg 43, basically ensures that a professional engineer with the Colorado stamp will stamp the engineering. We meet the design document, complete brief description of the facility and its provide use as 43.5.G.2 states, and then an approved or licensed installers can install the system. Basically, what we need to do is use the information that's provided tonight, which meets all the requirements for the town of Pitkin and the requirements for the state to issue the OWTS permit.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, I'm going to put in my 2 cents. And here it goes. So Sarah Bergstrom designed this system. And then she took it over to Mr. Bill Barbitsky, who reviewed her design. And that design was all predicated on this being an 8-bedroom residence. And what I wanted tonight, which you have stated multiple times, is that this building, this proposed building, will be a residence, whether it makes it to 8 or not. And on that basis, you see it, because you can't change the plan. If you change the plan, you have to go for re-engineering and all that stuff again. So it becomes pretty shaky if you want to change the plan. Then, you know, it's doable. But I want a total and complete verification and validation from you that what is written in this document is in fact your intention. At some point, whether you do it or the next person does, this is proposed building is planned for residents. So on that basis, I can't say that I disagree with that.
I got one other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
The engineer, there's one part of it that she doesn't address because of the frozen ground. I don't remember exactly.
Well, that is
Wait a
true.
minute, let me finish, please.
The excavation assumptions.
That I believe it's either in the application or somewhere that says that that is required. So how can we approve it? Even she's giving a reason why we don't have that. But that doesn't say
No,
we don't have to have it.
what that does is it says an addendum will be made to the design criteria
Right.
of the soil treatment area.
And I don't see how or why we should approve this until that addendum is made. What I'm saying.
The only change,
Required,
right,
it's not here. How can we approve it if it's not here?
okay, I get what you're saying.
That's the
Sometimes-
engineering process to actually use state standards. I think it's mentioned in there somewhere, or maybe she was talking to me about it. They use state standards.
So, yeah,
State maps.
so what happens is when somebody comes out, a licensed installer, and they start digging and they run into a limiting layer too quickly. Well, all that does is that raises the mound. It happens from time to time that what you have thought, even if you have dug a test hole, when you get into the bulk of the soil treatment area, things change and you find out, okay, we got to do this a bit different, but we still have to meet certain guidelines and certain criteria. And I don't have any issues with that because I myself have experienced those very same things. So that's my 2 cents on it.
No, I agree with Tom on that statement. It does say in the document that it was the design was based on USDA Web Soil Survey site.
Let me read to you.
Based on the,
Let him get down.
I'm reading right from this document. Well,
Okay,
at this time, the assumed design will be based on the USDA Web Soil Survey site. For this property, the soil in this area is categorized as practical, install as, soil type, which has a typical soil profile line. The next page, it says, when the site is accessible, profile excavation shall be done to confirm the assumptions included in this design. If our findings differ from this report, an addendum shall be submitted to the town of Pitkin. And basically what has to happen if the soil is different than what is under the USDA Web Soil Survey site, then they'll have to modify the field area, change the rest of the system. I mean, they'll have to change the leach field.
all right. We have an OWTS ordinance. This is ordinance number 2, series 2021. On page 3 of that ordinance, this is under section 4, permits and fees. Number 2 states, I'm reading this isn't my word. The permit application must include information identified in sections 43.4B3 of regulation 43 as seen below. A, owner name and contact information. B, property address. C, property legal description. D, type of permit. E, report from site and soil evaluation. That's in.
It's in here.
Is that report in the application?
This is a staple to the application.
I'm talking about the report from site and soil evaluation. She states in her letter that she can't do that now because the ground is frozen.
That's right.
The application, the ordinance does not say submit this if you can. It says the application must include information identified here, seen below. Where does it state in this that can be an addendum after the fact?
They're using the, documentation from the state soil data. And this wouldn't matter. You could do this any time of year, and you're still gonna do the engineering before you go dig your septic field. The engineering has to be done. And so,
So what is the hurry that we have to do this tonight?
because I'm on a time limit for getting it done, and just like everyone else is. So it needs to get done.
That's not my problem. That's your problem.
You are a problem, yes.
I think we have
Okay,
a case
gentlemen.
of septic jealousy.
We have who do we have?
It's Chad, if you want to say.
Okay, Chad, you're
Yes.
up.
I think we have a classic case of septic jealousy. Board member Ramon has a lack of a septic system at his property. And I think that he's just a little jealous that we're getting a large system installed on the south end of town.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Chad. Okay.
Keep your mouth shut.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
when I read this document, and I've clarified before that I'm not an engineer, but I felt, and I also see that the surface site evaluation is here by the USDA Web Soil Survey. But I felt comfortable. The only thing I ever saw in this document that the proposed use was 8-bedroom residence. I didn't see anything else. So with those two things, the site evaluation is here to my satisfaction. Sarah Bergstrom and Bill Barbitsky, that's two professional engineers. I would certainly feel comfortable on voting on this tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
So if the soil is not as expected, does the design have to change? Because depending on when the system goes in, what the system could potentially go in, and then would the soil evaluation come after, or?
No, the soil evaluation will come either prior to or during the initial beginning of your dig for your soil treatment area. And when the installer, our licensed installer, who is also quite good at reading soil, he's taken that course, I know. When he starts to dig, if he runs into complications soil-wise, then he will contact the engineer and adjustments will be made, either up or down. Mostly typically it's up because you either run into some limiting layer underground that you have not anticipated.
It should be noted that I'm protected and the town of Pitkin is protected because we're following the processes of the Reg 43, which requires stamped engineered designs along with licensed installers. If there's any issue that comes from this, the town can sue the engineers, can sue the licensed installers. There's literally no risk for the town of Pitkin.
Thank you, Jake. Well, I think it's time to wrap this up, guys. Ramon has made a motion to table this. Is anybody going to second that? All right then.
Tom, I move that we approve this WTS permit as the applicant has fulfilled the requirements for the state of Colorado and the town of Pitkin permit application.
This is Jara and I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve.
For a roll call vote.
Okay, a roll call vote has been requested. So we shall begin. Where should we begin, Sarah?
Board of Health member Ramon Reed.
All right,
No.
Board of Health member Tom Gibbs.
I vote yes.
Board of Health member Jared Garrettson.
Yes.
Board of Health member Etienne Alto.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. And I think at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our Board of Health meeting.
This is Jara and I so move.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for your time.